Welcome back. During the break, Dr. Ballard and I were talking about the likelihood of world order. Now I'm getting shiny. Tell me, Doctor, when you worked with the ASAP group in the mid-90s, there were rumors to the effect that you and ASAP, and I know a lot of people won't remember this, and a lot of our viewers won't remember this, but you were all rumored to have been purportedly working with members of AdFed, along with half of Madison Avenue, toward devising a global campaign for the dissolution of the nation-states in favor of benevolent cooperative incorporation of all peoples and industries by the year 2000. Now, the FCC stepped in at the very outset, and the project was thought to have been squelched altogether. I'd like to ask you what really happened there.
Yeah, well, first of all, AdFed was headed up at that time by a very powerful woman who was a key player, who held key positions on the board of directors at Time Warner, Hasbro, and so forth. This woman was plugged into the powerful executive level cabals that own and operate AT&T. In any case, at this point, I believe she's with Sony. I'll put it that way. She really gets around. In any case, I remember it was at this time that she was just killing project proposal after project proposal. It was just ludicrous, you know, just ludicrous. She seemed personally committed to making sure that not one of our plans saw the light of day, even got off the ground. We were just dead in the water, just dead. And I remember it reached a point, I just got fed up, and I went up to her after a particularly excruciating session of just ritual deliberation. It was just pure theater. And I remember I went up to her, and I just looked her in the eye, tall woman, and I looked her in the eye then and there in the halls of what was at that time the most powerful telecommunications company in the world, and I said to her,
coming up next, Rod Ballard revisits the summer of fear.
Pay attention, America. This is advertising.
Yeah.
Paid for by the Ad Council.
Coming up next, Bellevue and Bellevue on Ballard and Ballard.
Jung recalls his very first vivid dream is that of looking up, absolutely dumbstruck, as a gigantic, God-sized feces came crashing through the stained glass ceiling of a cathedral.
Man, it's bleak.
Gary Busey was on our show last week, and he was saying that all of his creative output had managed only to, how did he put it? To merely creatively express his own self-annihilating energies.
He's still alive, though, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I think so.
He was really great in Cannery Row.
Didn't see it. During the Summer of Fear you mentioned earlier, the media itself dangled imaginary syringes and needles before the public eye with ominous narration to match. There was like a self-perpetuating wave of horror and boredom that simply crackled in the air. I mean, Doom was a huge hit. It just skated silently in on top of an already flat economy like Jesus Christ Superstar. But I mean, this wasn't fun in games, though. I mean, in real life, people sat paralyzed in fear, you know? I mean, fear that they weren't as real as those smiling, swaggering models, you know, stumbling through those jittery Levi's 501 commercials.
Can you imagine?
But also, there was the fear that something real...
Like a syringe, for example.
Or poison meat, or armed revolution, but that these might at any time have punctured the sleep capsule. So you had this state of affairs where everyone, not just marginal types, but where the whole herd lived in fear that they were neither real in nature nor valid in culture at all. And simultaneously, they all quaked and shivered like cold, disembodied, clammy spinal cords or something. You know, fear that something might touch them, something lethal, something at least disruptive, you know. And this continues this state of paralysis, this fear.
Yeah, it's like that business about everything that they said was good for us turning out not to be. I mean, milk, red meat, the free market system, college. Coke doesn't add life, it subtracts.
Exactly, exactly. Hey, listen, would you like a piece of gum?
Hey, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thanks.
Sure. You know, frankly, I've given embarrassing amounts of consideration to all this, you know. I mean, I'm just like you. I've seen the syringes, and I've tasted my share of secret Pepsi. And let me tell you something. The threshold at the end of history is no place for the so-called pause that refreshes. But even there, perched on the olive branches of a fresh new eternity, the man is still coming down on us, you know? I mean, or he does on me at least.
I'm sorry, I don't...
Well, it's like this morning, you know? I mean, I got up, I rise, I shine, it's Monday, you know?
Okay.
And I'm feeling great, feeling incredible. I think to myself, I cannot be contained. I go out, and the first thing I do is I pledge a thorough, silent allegiance.
To what?
Well, let's just say I'm feeling really good. Better than usual anyways.
All right.
First thing I do is I go out, jump in the car, put the top down. Within minutes, I'm on the interstate, you know. Driving, drinking, eating, talking on the cellular with my publicist or whatever, steering with my knees, waving at a teenage babysitter, paralegal or something or whatever. And no one knows me, and I don't know anyone. And the sun remains unadvertised, sky blue sky.
Right.
And then I look over, right, in the passenger seat of my sports sedan there, and there it is. There's this, how do I want to put this? It's a three-dimensional, 7-foot-tall textbook illustration of a human skeleton. I mean, whose idea was this? And from every joint, 206 bones, right? From every joint and seam and eye socket and open jaw, it's bursting all over with flowers, with the most beautiful little saffron and orange flowers, each about the size of a golf ball or whatever. And I mean, I think to myself, who is this skeleton person? I mean, is it you? I mean, probably not, but maybe it's Glenn Miller or Walt Disney, for Christ's sakes. Who knows? I mean, Brian Piccolo, Patient Zero, Jessica Savage maybe, freaking Hoffa, I don't know. I mean, Sammy Davis Jr. had a third eye, Dr. Ballard. Why didn't he use it?
I have absolutely no idea. Advertising, it seems to me, continues to set the stage for a slower and slower death. I mean, one has only to think back on the huge popularity of the "Why don't you just give me rat poison" slogan. I mean, even I had forgotten how huge and long-running the old Wendy's "Where's the beef" campaign was. And then some of those other ones came along. "Why Ask Why" was pretty big, and "Just Do It" seemed big there for a while. But then "Why don't you just give me rat poison" came along and hit even bigger than these. And the phrase, I think, resonated with the culture at large. I mean, it was everywhere. It was in the air. Old people, little kids, teenagers, everyone just joined together in a chorus-wide medley of "Why don't you just give me rat poison?" This is the sound of pending doom, Mr. Ballard, patent fear, psychic paralysis, and this hasn't died down completely by any stretch of the Johnson administration. No, sir. This is the kind of thing that's just starting to get revved up now. It's just forever getting
That's weird. That's
revved
weird.
up to
hey,
get...
listen, we're about out of time, but before we go, I'd like to, if I could, read this passage I brought with me today. I came across this the other day in the course of preparing for today's show, and everything really synced right up. You know, as some things sometimes do, as things often do here on the old Ballard and Ballard show, and so I'd like to read it here as a parting thought, if that's all right with you, Dr. Ballard.
Hey, sure, be my guest.
Here goes. All that he does seems to him, it's true, extraordinarily new. But also, because of the incredible spate of new things, extraordinarily amateurish. Indeed, scarcely tolerable, incapable of becoming history, breaking short the chain of generations, cutting off for the first time at its most profound source, the music of the world, which before him could at least be divined. Sometimes, in his arrogance, he has more anxiety for the world than for himself. That's Kafka from his aphorisms.
Whoa. Enough said. Hey, what do you say we wrap it up?
Do you have any parting thoughts, Doctor, for the folks at home?
Sure, maybe a quote of the day. Let's see. How about this? To decide not to decide is not decision. To decide not to not decide is. That is decision.
All right, then. Hey, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. B. It's almost always a pleasure.
And thank you for being with us.